Hello Internet, Bardic Monk here, and today we're going to be taking a look at my updated version of making cards for Marvel Champions, but you could use this for any card game that you're playing, as well as a few more tokens that I'm going to be making and a hint at things to come. My tokens, I ended up expanding my collection to have ninja characters as well, and with the ninja characters I have included some new statuses that are here, which includes intensified and cloaked. For intensified, if you would get rid of a card that's intensified, you get rid of the card instead. You get rid of intensified instead. And then for cloaked, I believe for a ninja character from that set that this comes from, you would get +2 to any of your activations because it has all 4 colors on here, so I know it's +2 to your thwarting attack, defense, and recovery. And I think if there's any damage that you would take, you remove 2 of it. That's what the 2 in red means for me. So we have that, and I added patrol tokens just in case I needed to remember that I cannot thwart the main scheme, and then I gotta figure out who has patrol. So I have that. Some of the tokens, again, just ninja characters and a token for Venom. Venom, who can give up life for wild resource. So instead of just having to remember if I did it or not, I just made a token that I'm going to clip onto his life counter. So if this is the life counter and this is the token I'm going to make, so once I punch this out, I'll be able to just attach it to here, and I'll know that he's already used that ability, so I can't use it again. I've also made an identity token for the same idea of just like if I can only use one thing, something once per phase or per turn, it's going to show up there. Like as soon as I do the thing, I'll put it on there. So I'm just going to do a little bit of punching real quick, and then I will come back with the actual card creation, because this was not anything that you guys need to see. If you've seen the last video, you can see that to make the tokens is pretty simple. You just punch them out or cut them out, and then you stick them into magnets. Yeah, I'll show you how I did it, and then we'll get to the cards, which is the actual meat and potatoes of this video. So, be right back. We finished the token portion of this video. I'm going to keep these up here. Let me clean this up real quick, and then I will be right back. Last but not least, we're going to do what we actually started this video to do, and that is the new process in which I'm creating cards. What I'm going to do for this new process is I am going to match corners. So one of these corners is going to get matched up with the other opposite corner, and in order to remember which one I'm doing, I'm just making sure that it's the right in the top for the front cards, which I have printed on, again, 110 pound card stock, and the fronts are just on regular paper. But because I have picked the right on this side, I'm going to pick the left for this side. So now when I cut them out, they should match when I match these two sides together. So once the overlapping sides are removed, I'll stick them here, and then they should match. Here's so Logan to Wolverine and such. So here we go. So the first step was to mark these. The second step is to cut them out. And what I'm aiming to do is I'm trying to cut on the outside of the black. Not the worst. It could have been better. But at the edge, we have barely any white. So this is fine. This is very, very good. Again, just trying to do the same thing. Cut on the outside of the black so I can match the 2 black corners here. So this one decided to leave some white, but like this is hitting the black, and this side is hitting the black mostly. I'm going to have to fix that a little bit. Okay. So now when I'm cutting this, I just need to worry about this side. That's it. Okay. Come on, come on, come on. You got this, bud. What I'm using for this step is Michael's Collections double-sided sticky sheets, and what I have done is I pre-cut them to my paper size. So these are now oversized for what I need them for, but if I hadn't cut those edges off, these should match perfectly. And I just want the excess just to have some wiggle room. When I stick them to the corner on this side, we should be fine. Sometimes it won't match up, and you just got to be mostly okay with that. And the way that it's going to work is, as long as you cut this out as close as possible, these should match up all right. And in the case that it doesn't match up perfectly, because you really have to worry about the character cards, but for any of the other ones, it's the back of the cards, and if you're already using opaque sleeves, you can't see through them, so it doesn't matter if you have some black lines on the back. But we really want this to match perfectly because we have characters or double-sided cards, so we want to make sure that that actually works. So I'm going to prioritize, every time I do this, I prioritize making sure that the fronts of the cards are perfect on here, and then the back, I'm trying to make it as good as possible. That is the goal. I'm also going to remove this from the table so I don't accidentally stick it onto anything by mistake. Accidentally. Not on purpose. Before we continue, before you even, because I hope you're watching this ahead of time, you're not doing this along with me. If you don't have parchment paper, please get parchment paper, because that is integral to this next step. We have just peeled one side of this very sticky paper, and we need to make sure that we can place we can place the cards on it without it sticking immediately. So what I'm going to do is make sure that the bottom has enough spacing so that I could put the bottom of the paper there and let that stick, and then I can peel this off later. So this sticky paper, as soon as you put your other paper on there, it's going to the sticky sheet is going to adhere almost immediately to whatever you put on it. But for the parchment paper, you can peel this off later, no problem. It just doesn't stick. That's part of what makes parchment paper so great for cooking. So I am looking for the corner that this is cut off for, and I'm going to match the top of the paper with the top of the paper. So this top here, I'm just going to match, and then I'm going to adjust from this corner to make sure that the black lines up the side, and then I can stick it on. We have now adhered this side, this bottom part, to the sticky sheet. We're now going to peel the parchment paper. Okay. And now, just making sure that I have a clean surface. Then I'm going to have this side hit the paper face down, and I'm sticking the sticky sheet to the table slightly. So you want a clean work surface for this. And I'm just trying to make sure that there's no air bubbles when I'm sticking this from one sheet to the other. And now we have just stuck these cards to the sticky sheet. I don't see any excess at the top, so I'm very happy with how this came out. My god, this looks great. Okay, I'm going to cut the excess sticky part from the paper. I'm not cutting into the actual cards yet. We're going to leave that alone for a second. We're going to worry about just these edges. So I just want to get rid of the sticky stuff from this side. We're going to keep the one on the bottom. We're going to use this once more after we're finished sticking everything. So I'm going to leave this nearby. I'm going to flip this paper over. I know that this is on this corner. So I am, when I finish peeling this, I'm going to match this side of the paper. So through the paper, what I'm saying is just I'm matching the top to the top, and then I make sure that the bottom matches with the edge right here. So now these two should be perfectly aligned, and then I'll stick it to the bottom of the paper again, and then when I flip, they should be perfectly aligned. Again. Okay, I was going to fast forward through this, but I realized I need to explain something again. Again, we are prioritizing the front of the cards. So everything that you cut from now on, we have both sides stuck together. They should be perfectly aligned if you've done everything as correctly as I've seen it done before. If everything matches up, now you're just flipping to the front of the card. Again, the thicker cardstock and the more important side. And you're going to cut everything alongside this, and you're just going to, because all the damage that it is going to be shown later is already done at this point. So you want to prioritize the card side that you're going to be seeing the most. As I cut this, just to explain, why is this better than the previous iteration of my spray and pray method, as I'm going to call it now? And it's, we are not spraying adhesive outside, just hoping that the elements agree with us. Right now it's been raining a lot where I'm at, and it's hot. It's just not the right spraying temperature. Not having to deal with the outside elements has been a net positive on this whole process. What I'm going to do is just cut the excess black from here on the edge, a thinner edge right here. Again, we're prioritizing the fronts of these cards. You want them to be as perfect as possible, but again, you're just not going to get it every single time. You're just trying to do your best. Okay. We're just going to cut the bottoms again. I think here you'd be done. Like, if you wanted to, you could probably, with minor cutting, just make sure that you have the right sizing of these cards. If I remember off the top of my head, it's 2.5 by 3 inches. I'll correct myself with the text right here. But if you have it at that size, you should be able to sleeve these cards, and that'll be it. I'm not sure if I showed this to this channel yet, but I do have a smaller camera here, so we can see these cards in a little more detail. So what I ended up making for this batch was Beta Ray Bill, Argent Star themed Strength, Genius, and Energy. And the backs of these gave me a little pause because I wasn't sure how well they looked pre-cut, but they're actually not bad right here. So you see a black line on the left here, but on the right side is clean, and the bottom doesn't have that weird cut anymore. So all these are good. I'm happy with these three. For the Juggernaut, I've just made, using the Mystic Mayhem art, I made just promo versions essentially of the Juggernaut, and I just changed the all black box into just a change of what the green splash is for each card. So all I did was just do that by just ported everything, all the other information here. That's fine. And the back, on the other hand, yep, we still have just the smallest bit of black border on two of these. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. So that's fine. And if you are really finicky about this, you'd be able to cut it without losing anything important here. So I have made sure to, after doing a couple runs of this, I have sized them so that these are going to fit into Dragon Shield sleeves, no problem. So I have that for sure. So these 6 cards are okay, and now the actual character cards that I need to make sure that actually worked out perfectly. So my 3 characters are Wolverine, Agent Venom, and Rasputin 4. On the fronts, nothing's missing. Everything's been ported over. That's fine. And the backs are what's important here. So for this, we have a black border on the side here, which I can cut no problem. So I'm going to do that. And again, you don't have to do all this here. So I made a small removal of paper, but at that point now we have no border on the Logan side of this. So we are good. Yeah, this is great. This is a good promo. So there's that. We have Agent Venom, who on the front we're good. We have no borders here. And on the back, I can't look through the camera. I gotta see through here. I have the faintest bit of border at the bottom of this, which is fine if I just cut that. So I'll do that here and make sure I actually have it on camera. Yeah, okay. So another thinnest bit of removal, and then we have the perfect front. Didn't really remove too much of his arm, and then we no longer have a black border on this side. So we're all good. And last but not least, we have Rasputin 4, and on the side we do have the faintest bit of a border again. So I'm just going to remove that real quick. With this, I think we have everything exactly how we want it. So now we are going to cut all these with the small side of the card cutter, and I will be right back after I speed this up. Alright, so now after we've cut everything, after I've cleared this one more time, we now have all the finished cards here. So even with the rounded edges and everything, these all are legitimate cards now. Wolverine. A lot of people had complaints about how his card originally was set up, just because it's the first time they tried this mechanic, and when he was fighting Ultron, it's possible for his claws to be taken out of the deck and put into play in front of him as a drone, and then it'd be impossible for him to ever get his claws out. So while mechanically that was following the rules, it did not follow the spirit of the game. And in future characters, they've fixed the wording to be, for Logan specifically, snicked. For setups, they usually tell you to put whatever their permanent setup card is into play, instead of search the deck and discard pile for the card and then put it into play. This also, that like Wolverine's claws are now, because of rules version 1.6, or whichever one it got reiterated to, when you're doing all the rest of the setup for a game, you are removing any permanent setup cards from the game before anything happens. You follow the rest of the rules, and then when it comes to the setup cards for the character, you put those setup cards back into play where they're supposed to be. So there's no chance of them being removed. Unless you're Magneto in a very specific situation, this should never happen. So just following the mechanics of the game, this is fine. I believe I ported everything correctly. And it's just the same character, just with better wording for the setup, updated wording for the setup, and that was it. Along with the Marvel's Capcom or I guess the Capcom art for Wolverine and the Rivals version of Logan. Just because he doesn't have his mask, that's why I'm calling this one Logan. So that's it. And with that, all we just need to do is sleeve the cards. Alright, so these are all the finished cards, all in their sleeves. And everything came out as... Man, this came out as good as I'd want them to come out. So, aside from like half of a millimeter of black border that required me to cut more of a card out, I think everything went perfectly. Those are all the cards that I made today. The last step, if you are aware of this from my prior videos, is I have from the dollar store 2 clamps and 2 pieces of wood. Collectively, I think they cost me $6 from the dollar store. But this is what I use to change these cards from being a little bit fluffier, just because they're brand new. There's new sleeves with somewhat, I want to say like nanometers thicker cards. I use this process in order to squeeze them down to just make them better. So, because I have 9 cards, I need three stacks of 3. I'm just splitting them up to 3, and I'm going to squeeze them all for a couple hours. But I will show you my... I will do the... I have this prepared from earlier. So I'm going to throw these into the oven like this. I'm going to clamp them real quick. And with that, we have all 9 cards just being smushed in here, and due to the compression, they'll just stick in there a little bit longer, and they'll be squeezed after a few hours. So this one's pretty egregious, wherein the start of another card is there. Alright, so with all of that said, I decided to just dig out the rest of these custom thingamajigs that I made. I'm going to go over them real quick, just so you can see like what you can start doing with your games if you decide. Inkwire is a user who made a Bebop and Rocksteady encounter. If they both flip at the same time, when they activate, they knock each other out. Because you don't see the other side of the card, it's fine. If I shuffle this in with another set, you don't really... Like, in the camera, it shows a lot more than in with the naked eye. But the other thing that you could do is mess up. So when I was making this set, I didn't know that these were player cards. I thought it was weird that they were player support things, but I messed this up. But because I have it here, I don't have to remake the cards. So next is the Horns of the Rhino thing that I mentioned earlier, and this essentially turned into like a rule book kind of with the small text. Oh, now that I mentioned that, okay, I have one more thing after. I have 2 things right now, but I got one more special thing for you guys after this. I have these villain cards, or these minion cards for the starting characters from the starter box, the core box, and this is specifically for the Baron Zemo setup. So it's as if you attached Reluctant Foe to the character. Normally you'd have the character card and then have the attachment next to him. But for me, once you draw Reluctant Foe, when you have to search through your thing, you just shuffle these cards and then randomly reveal a hero. We have a couple cards that I added to the game that either fixes something or is just brand new. So, for instance, something that I was having a problem with was the Captain America and Captain America Shield thing. They're trying to make it so that multiple people cannot have Captain America out at the same time. And I feel like if you have the title and a different alter ego, it should be fine. And if they said that it's okay if at your table you play with him, you play with them as if, you know, you run the game however you want, essentially is what they said. So they gave us the blessing to essentially do it. So you could just take these cards as you want and just play with them as if just ignoring that rule. Because I like the beat 'em up scene from was it Civil War, where they're just beating the crap out of Tony with the shield like together, and I like the idea of that, and the fact that there could be 3 Captain Americas out at the same time really gets to me as far as like a cool thing that could happen. And I'd much rather have cool than rules specific. So what I ended up doing was recreating the Captain America cards, but without the unique card, without the unique symbol. So that way we can have multiple fake shields out and multiple titles for Captain America at the same time. This one is specific to Sam Wilson, and I also made it so that the shield breaks the border. The other thing was I made a specific card for Bucky, or I guess, Bucky. So if you're playing as Bucky Barnes, you play this Captain America card, and you have this Captain America shield. Lastly, for anybody who's like, well, you don't have multiple people can't be Captain America at the same time, but there could be multiple Caps at the same time. Even if it wasn't officially the Cap, there could be 3 men running around with that title. AbisMal has, I'm not sure if he created the card, but I definitely just credit it to him on when I made it because that's who I got it from. But he has a Don't Make Me Angry upgrade that's a permanent 16th card for the Hulk. Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer is completely in this game with just updated art because I like these 2 arts for the new Silver Surfer line that came out, The Death of Silver Surfer. So I have this art, but it's all the same stuff that Daring Lime made, actually. So Daring Lime, I've kept his logo and stuff in the credits here. I made sure that everything was numbered correctly for my tastes, and I've updated the art to be, like, the head to be closer to how they kind of like made everything like a 70s, 80s, maybe even 60s art for like the bottom corner hero head. So I just did that. So I recreated all the cards a little bit, and what spawned that idea to do this was the Power Cosmic icon. When Daring Lime started making these weren't in order because normally they're in alphabetical orders, but when he made his cards, it was just Power Cosmic and then Attack and then Thwart, and I just made it so that Attack was first on these cards. I did small adjustments like that. Everything else is exactly as written. I probably updated some card art, but I try to keep everything the same that I could. And along with this character, I did modify Rogue with a little help from a person online called Carlos Soto. I'm going to put up a picture here of what I spotted, but pretty much what I found was a modification to the rule set, or the ability to make a deck of cards that you could pull from for Rogue when you're playing solo. And he had a couple of rules on how everything works, and it all worked perfectly fine. I don't think there was anything wrong with his rules, so all I did was just put them onto cards. And the thing with these cards is that they just have a lot of text because they're essentially a rule book in and of themselves. So at the start of it, you just pull up this card, and it's just telling you the basics of, like, Rogue does her best when she's part of a team. To represent this, she begins each solo game with a special Sugah ally who has their own Sugah deck. To create the Sugah ally, reveal Sugah. So now we reveal Sugah. And this text essentially says, when revealed, ignore this top part. When revealed, search your collection for a hero that is not Rogue, who is not Rogue, and put them into play. Set their hero cards aside. Attach this card to that hero. I put the hero out, and then I attach this card to him. And now he's essentially an ally. So I'm going to get all his hero cards. I'm going to get rid of the Nemesis set. I'm not going to use that. And then the rest of his cards I'm going to put out here. Right? Now, treat attached hero as a Sugah ally with 6 hit points. So you ignore whatever HP they have. And then 6 hit points. This ally does not count against your ally limit. This ally cannot interact or be interacted with by any means except by the touched upgrade and the energy transfer and superpower adaptation events. This ally counts as their hero and alter ego identity when resolving cards with the team up keyword. This ally gains, when defeated, remove this hero and Sugah from the game. That's all the rules for that. We'll continue with this. To create the Sugah deck, take all non-permanent set-aside hero cards of your Sugah ally and shuffle the cards to create the Sugah deck. So immediately, my permanent Cosmic Surfboard, I get rid of this. And then I would shuffle these cards to make the Sugah deck. Right? We did that. Then place the Sugah deck face down next to your Sugah ally. So now we have in the row with the allies, we have these three these three cards essentially. There's going to be a fourth set because there needs to be a discard pile. We'll see that in a second. So there's no penalty for shuffling the Sugah discard pile to make a new Sugah deck. So if you do end up decking out with the Sugah cards, you just reshuffle like nothing happened. You don't get an extra encounter card or anything like that. And now this side is done. We have already revealed this, so now we flip. And now we have an environment in play. So the environment for Sugah is permanent setup. Rogue begins the game with the Sugah ally who has the Sugah deck and discard pile. Check the back of this card. And pretty much at this point, all this is just saying, look, you put this in the deck, and also you put this into play. And it's only for solo mode, specifically. And then it's permanent in a setup, and then you just follow the rules from the other two cards. Now, new stuff. When a Sugah card is discarded, it is discarded into the Sugah discard pile. So now it has a second discard pile. So now we have 4 slots of your table being taken up by this, but it should be fine. I'm going to assume that you could, in theory, make it so that it takes up a 4 spot next to your character, and that should be okay. So you have your regular discard pile, and then your Sugah discard, your Sugah deck, and your Sugah discard pile next to it. Next we have show them what you got. Force response. After the player phase begins, tuck 3 cards from the top of the Sugah deck under here. Then shuffle the Sugah discard pile to make a new Sugah deck. Then continue to tuck cards until there are 3 here. Instead, if the Sugah deck empties when resolving this ability, then discard 3 cards tucked under here. So pretty much, this is going to be out in the environment section, and then you are going to get the top 3 cards of the deck. You're going to tuck them here, and then once we have 3 cards under here, we discard it. So now they have a discard pile for you to draw from whenever you use the, what's that called? Energy transfer and superpower adaptation events. So superpower adaptation is pulling from this deck. You don't have any aspect cards that you can pull from, but at least you get the character cards, so that should be fine. And this is meant to go through the 15 card deck in 5 turns. And if anything, I don't know if there's a way for it to happen, but I added to the rules just in case there's any way for you to have gone down to 2 cards. 2 cards in the deck. The wording of this is so that you tuck cards from the top of the deck under here. So if I only have 2 left, I tuck 2 cards under Sugah. And then I have to shuffle the cards. And then after I finish shuffling, I'll set the deck up again. And then I will tuck the 3rd card that I need here. That way, all 3 cards come out, and then those 3 cards are in the discard pile. So at least has 3 every turn. This is just to prevent you from having a crappy turn where you discard 1, and then you kind of get stuck, and then you have to reshuffle after that, and you only have 1 card to pick from. That's all I did. I tightened up that, and I think I added the ability to use the power. What did I add to here? I added the ability for us to use the power of, I think, energy transfer. You could steal 2 health from somebody and then like gain their passive ability or something like that. I'll have to play with her at some point with this, but pretty much that's all I added to this. It's mostly Carlos Soto's rules that he added to this character, and I found it inspiring, so I made my own version of it while immortalizing, I guess, his work. I used the Rivals card because she could pair with anybody, and as long as they're characters to be released, she should be fine. So, thanks again for watching, everybody. See you next time. Have a great day. Have a great night. And as always, stay positive.
Stressed out from trying to put my best out and have to stick my chest out just so monkeys will have less doubt. yet you wanna give me grief about a Kickstarter. I'm still alive, the only reason that I'm not a martyr. So holler harder, my hearing ain't so good these days. Looks like you having trouble being understood these days. I used to help you out when I had loot, but the way you're acting lately, I don't think I would these days. How could these days be so blurred together that I can't tell a motherfucking mountain from an anthill?